back to the channel. Today we have a new build. It's a 2002 Chevy Silverado 1500 four-wheel drive. Short cab, short bed. It's one of those rare, clear title total losses. Actually, I guess they're not that rare since I seem to have a bunch of them. But the experts say they don't exist, so I guess they're rare because they know everything. But I'm not ready to work on it, but I didn't want to deprive you guys of the trailer unloading. So let's get it off the trailer, get it inside where it's not as windy and cold, and we'll take a better look at it sometime in the future.
So the hood pops, that's a good thing. So we can get a jumper pack on it and see if the thing actually runs. Said it was a run and drive. I didn't charge it on the way home because it was raining down in Arkansas where I picked this thing up, which is why it's all rust free. And up here, as you can see, it's snowing. Why do I live here? So we'll hook up our jumper pack. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we're going to check the oil and make sure there's still some in it because there's a lot all over the inside of the hood and the engine. Because when it was upside down, all the oil leaked past the rings and out the intake and coated everything. Give it a shot, see what happens. We got a bad water pump. That's why our belt is squealing. And there's also antifreeze pouring out of the bottom of the truck. Pretty standard on these things. Luckily, they're pretty easy to change. So now that we know it runs, let's continue making it drivable so we can get it off the trailer. Somebody put a spare on. Of course, it's also flat. Probably just had a slow leak. The old wheel and tire is in the back of the truck, and the tire is pushed off the rim. I would imagine when it went off the road, it kind of peeled the bead loose and blew it out. And our rear one, same thing, except this one still has some dirt and rocks wedged in the rim that needs to come out of there. So we can only fill it up so far before it starts hissing out of there. So that's what we're going to do. About 20 psi, but it should get us off the trailer. We're about to find out.
Rockers.
Yes, the mythical rockers that we don't have here in Illinois on our Illinois truck. That's why I drove all the way down to get it. And I know I didn't do the Dukes of Hazzard properly, but I'm too short to. So far, so good. Make sure it goes forward. It does. Really testing out the parking brake on our Denali. I didn't put the stabilizing jacks down to the back because, well, it's cold out and the trailer can handle the abuse, not me. And now we're going to find its spot and park it for a later date. This is the Scott's Emporium of various makes and models that you guys all want to see. Here's a glimpse of it.
So I'm finally ready to work on it, and I usually save the test drive for after we finish it, but well, I think it'll drive now, and I don't feel like loading it on the trailer to take it down to the shop, so let's make it drivable-ish and see what happens.
So we're going to top off all of our fluids. It's only about a quart low on oil, but we'll throw it in there. And it's going to smoke a little bit. It's going to burn all the oil that's in the exhaust and intake back out of it. We're also going to top off our antifreeze because I don't know how bad this water pump's leaking. It only ran for a couple minutes and it leaked pretty good. So not sure if it was from sitting or if it was leaking before the accident. Either way, it's going to need a water pump. Check our oil and make sure we were right. Good enough. We'll change the oil later anyway. Put our caps back on. And now we can start peeling off all of our plastic that was, well, not really doing much anymore. It's not meant to stay on there quite this long. It was sitting down there for a couple months. And it was keeping most of the rain out, but anything that fell on the roof ran right down into the top of the dash. And then down onto the carpet. So the carpet's a little moist. Door doesn't close on this side. The plastic was holding it together. See if we can fix that. But before we worry about that door, we're going to remove the windshield. Save light repair, save light replace. This is how they do it, right? Well, that's how I'm going to do it. We're just going to cut it out, get most of it out of the way. Hopefully we don't cut anything we're not supposed to cut. Got to save our rear view mirror. We're going to need that for our truck when we're done. I don't feel like walking to get the screwdriver, so we're just going to tear it off of there, bring whatever glass comes with it. And we'll continue cutting across the bottom of our windshield. The Sawzall blades do cut right through, even when they're dull. I know. Safety glasses and gloves. Yeah, you're on the right channel. I don't like shards of glass in my eyes, and since there's no place to wash my hands and I don't want to get my truck all dirty, I decided to wear gloves, so I can take the dirt off.
Door won't close. See if we can do something about it. Got a door adjustment tool. Well, I hope that door adjustment tool is warranted, because it clearly did not work. Now I'm short, but the headroom in this truck is just awful.
So we're going to position our Scott Porta Power in and push the roof up. Never skip leg day. See, I do leg. Got a little bit.
Better.
In order to position the Porta Power in the correct location, we got to pull this overhead console down. There's one screw in the front, a couple clips in there, and we can unplug it. If I were to just push on that, I would end up breaking it. So we'll take that out, and we can put our feet there and give it another push. See if we can get the center of it up a little more. And that's all we're going to get. But some good news, pushing that roof up was enough to get our door to close.
What do you know? Our door closes now. Gaps better than a Tesla.
Now I know a gap like that probably is going to cause a water leak, but luckily nobody is going to notice since there are no windows in the vehicle.
Alright, it looks like we're ready to go. Let's see how far we make it. That's all the experts that say you can't believe I'm going to drive a car like this, uninsured and unregistered on the road and endanger other drivers. I already took care of that. Let's go.
So we're on our way. So far, so good. I am wearing safety glasses because there are shards of glass blowing all over the place. It's a little windy in here. Definitely a little wind leak from the windshield. This is one of those rare front-wheel drive GM trucks. The drive shaft was taken out so that they could tow it, and it was sitting in the bed. The front yoke was all rusted up, and I didn't have any way to clean it up. So rather than tearing up the seal, I just left it out. Also, one of the caps for the U-joints was missing, so I couldn't have put it in if I wanted to. So we're just going to drive around in front-wheel drive. Just put it in four-wheel drive, and it uses the front wheels, and the back drive shaft just does do nothing because it's in the bed now. Everything else is fine. Our door is closed. Our lights actually work. So technically, it is road legal as long as you're wearing safety glasses, or sunglasses, or a helmet, and have a dealer plate, which I do. We do have about 20 psi in that right rear tire. It'll get us here. We're only going about a mile down the road. Seems to run pretty good. Shift's fine. Not bad for almost 200,000 miles. And once it warms up and you're sitting right next to it, it's pretty quiet. It doesn't have the typical exhaust manifold leaks like every other truck around here when the heads pop off of the bolts that hold the exhaust manifolds on. Because this was down south, it still has all the heads on all its bolts, so no exhaust leaks. Runs pretty good, no engine knocks, even though it was starved of oil when it was upside down. Now these LSs are pretty indestructible. I think it'll be fine. The transmission's not so much. But this one seems to be working, so we're going to go with it. So we made it back to the shop without issues, maybe a couple stairs. Mostly from the pizza girl that was following me and couldn't believe I was driving this thing. I guess she's new here. I drive stuff like this all the time. I should probably record more of it just to annoy all the experts. So we're going to pull our back glass out, the only glass that is left. We can use our knife to go around the outside edge. So we get to the end. We use our other windshield knife to hold it up so we don't drop the thing on the floor and have a puzzle. There's a little bit left in that corner I can't get to, so we'll just pull the glass back a little bit, cut it with the knife from the inside so it pops out of there. Success. I saved the only good window. Well, I shouldn't say that yet. It hasn't been reinstalled in one piece just yet.
I win.
Now we can pull our sill plates up. Just clip in, a little wiggle and pull, and they come off of there. I'm going to take the seats out first, but I'm taking the doors off so I have room to get the seats out. Pull the front kick plate out. We'll pull the side of the dash off. And we can see our plugs for our door. We'll feed our wires through. These doors are pretty easy to take off, only 3 bolts. Get our wiring harness out of here. One plug doesn't want to come with. Now we can pull our 3 bolts out, one in the door check, one in each hinge. Then all we have to do is lift up on the door. So we'll put our knee underneath it and wiggle it back and forth a little bit until it pops out of those hinges. Then we'll set it down gently or drop it. I don't think we're going to hurt it. Now over to the passenger side. I think we're going to mess up the fender a little bit. Pull our sill plate out of here. A little wiggle and pull like the other side. Pull the kick plate off. This side of the dash was already missing. We'll pop our little boot out of there. And feed our wires through. So we get our pick out of there. Pull the bolt out of the lower hinge, the door check, and then the upper hinge. Wiggle it back and forth and lift it up. And drop it on the floor.
Oops.
And now we can start pulling our seats out. There's no doors in the way, so we can carry them directly out the doors and not have to go around them. Pull the bolts out of the front, slide the seat forward, tilt the recliner forward, and we get to the bolts in the back. And pull our seats out of here. We'll center them over the tracks just so they're a little easier to store. Now we're over to the driver's side, and bolt the front, slide it forward, move the recliner forward, and we can unbolt the back. There's actually a plug on this side, we'll have to unplug. There were none on the other side. Slide our seat back on our track. We'll tip it back. The plug on this is just for the seatbelt. Lets the truck know to turn on the seatbelt light if you're not wearing it. Put that off to the side. Now we're going to put our center seatbelt over the top of our console and tighten it up. That gives us a nice handle so we can carry it around later. Set this off to the side. And we're going to clean the carpeting because, well, I'm not sure if we're going to use it. I'm not even sure what color this interior is going to end up being when we're all done. But still want to get most of this junk out of here while the seats are out. I also don't want it in a container with the rest of the stuff that we're taking out of the interior. Not to mention there's some change there I need to pick up. This is a budget build. I need all the change I can get. I'll pull the cover off for our jack. Oh, big surprise. There is no jack. Also no tools. But there is an American Idol little music box. And some more change. Probably some scratch-off lottery tickets. Directions to the local meth lab. Now we're going to pull the trim panel off the back of the cab. Just a little wiggle and pull. There's a technique to this, so you don't break it. Takes a while to learn. I know, I broke a lot of them. Not this one. Put our little cover back in there. And we can unscrew our B-pillar trim. There's 2 Phillips screws that were underneath the cover we just took off. Pull those out. Wiggle and pull. And a little bit of prying. We'll get that side off. Do the same thing on the passenger side. Pull our Phillips screws out. Wiggle and pull. A little pry and hope. And we got it off without breaking it. And pry all the little Christmas trees off the back carpeting. And set that off to the side. We're going to unbolt our jack bracket. It doesn't really have a purpose in life anymore. Pull our gasket out of the top of our door. Slide it out of there. Now we can pull our trim off the A-pillar. Just a bunch of torque screws in there. Do the same thing on the driver's side. Missed a gear. Pull the trim panel off the lower dash support. And we'll unbolt the lower dash support so we can sneak our carpet out from underneath it. Pry our carpeting off of there. Kind of stuck with all kinds of, I don't even want to know what. Ooh, money. And we'll pull the carpeting around our lower dash support. And we'll slide it out of there. Set it off to the side and let it drain. Now we can pull out the padding. There's not quite as much water as I was expecting. Maybe that plastic was doing something. We'll unplug the airbag module, unbolt the ground. Wires go over the top of the padding. Put the nut back on for the ground so I don't lose it. And now we'll throw the padding over the back of the truck and let that drip dry. Pull the foam off of our B-pillars. Just a bunch of little Christmas trees. And we'll pull the speaker out. Just one clip on the top. Slide it on the bottom. Then we can unplug it. Probably going to end up replacing it because I doubt it's any good. Same thing with the passenger side. Pull the foam piece out of there. So I made the mistake of kicking the tire that was in the bed, thinking it was just an average tire. But this is a new water-filled one because it was sitting the other way. All the water from all winter long kind of collected on there and filled it up. It was full. It didn't even slosh around when I picked it up. So all I did was turn it upside down, push the bead off of there, and got about 80% of it out of there. And we're just going to have to break it down and drain the rest of the water out of it. Then reseat the bead. So while it's draining, we're going to pull our A-pillar trim off. Funny. Usually you don't find it there. So when it was upside down, all the change that was in the console, well, then became up in the roof. So some of it fell back in the A-pillar. That's what we're finding up here. It's pretty much everywhere.
Somebody went out of bounds with the saw.
I'll pull our A-pillar trim out of the driver's side. One clip in the top, and it clips into the dash. But it won't quite come out because, well, our pillar is not exactly aligned properly. And we'll give it a little wiggle until we admit defeat. So, we're not totally defeated yet. We're going to put a porta power in there. We put a bracket on where the seat bolts, because that's where our support's going to be. And we'll jam the porta power in there, and then we're going to push the roof up and forward. Hopefully that pushes that pillar up there, and we can get our trim panel out and our wiring harness for our headliner that goes behind the dash that I don't need to complain about because I complain about it all the time. Would have been so much easier to put a plug at the top. Thanks, engineers. We got our roof forward a little bit, and our trim panel fits now.
We have this on an angle, so in addition to pushing this up, we're also pushing this forward. So watch the gap up here, it's already opened up quite a bit. We had to put a little bit more extension on there so we can go further. That's how much we lifted it. So let's keep going, see what happens.
So this should close up our gaps on the back of our door. A little stress relieving. Get that piece to hopefully stay where we put it. And we'll let it go. We're going to need to go more, but we'll worry about that later when we have doors on and we can measure it all out. Right now we're just trying to get the A-pillar trim off. So now we can pull our third brake light out so that we can disconnect it, since the wiring harness for the headliner also goes to the third brake light. And we don't have to worry about it leaking because, well, we got plenty of other leaks. We're going to save it because it's still good. Not sure if Scott's GM Truck Emporium has any extras. This one's a little faded on the top, but it should buff off. You can see the paint peeled off where the window urethane was. Apparently GM had some of that paint left over from the early 90s. Pry the gasket out. And unplug it. Easier said than done, apparently. Now we're going to continue taking our headliner out. We're going to pull the sun visors out. There's one screw in the clip in the center. Try not to drop it. We got to find it. And there's 3 screws on the outside of the sun visor. We'll pull those out of there. No wires in this one. Set it off to the side. We'll pull the driver's side out. The fabric on this headliner, like all GM trucks, needs to be replaced. Unfortunately, this headliner has a few other issues that means we're going to probably toss it in the pile. It's got some creases in it from the roof being misaligned. There's a couple clothing hooks in the back. The outer piece of them just pops out. Just pry that down. They don't come out of there. Pry the outside of the other one down. And now we have a grab handle on the passenger side. A couple little pieces in the center that pop out. Grab handle stays in. Wiggle and pull. And our headliner is free. Well, almost free. Still glued to the top of the truck. And we got a wire hanging on. So when they put the windshield in, some of the urethane kind of oozed off, and hit the headliner. We'll just kind of peel it out of there. I was not in the mood to fish the wire out of there, so we're just going to set the headliner up on the hood. That'll allow us to work on our roof. We're going to have to pull our dash out eventually anyway, so I'll just disconnect the wires then, instead of fighting with it. We're going to have to pull our dash out for a few reasons. There's some change in glass in the HVAC box, and we need to paint back there. We're going to check and make sure this is a four-wheel drive GM truck. Yep, bad idle arm and pitman arm. Check. Okay, now we can change our tire. Our other one is all nice and dry and drained, so we're going to throw the spare back underneath and put our other tire back on there, just to get it out of the way. I didn't worry about balancing it. I just wanted to fix all the leaks in the tire, because I was tired of filling them up every time I wanted to move the truck. We're going to end up changing these tires anyway. They're pretty bald. Might have led to the reason the truck was upside down. Pull the rear tire off. We're going to clean that bead up. The one lug nut that didn't want to come off. It's only flat on the bottom. So we're going to break it down. We're going to get all the mud out of our rim, so our tire will seat and hopefully not leak. It's annoying putting air in it every couple days. We're working in Lake V-Core since the last guy dumped all the water all over the floor out of the tire. Some of the mud out of there, but we're going to have to take the tire all the way off to get all of it out of there because it's jammed in there pretty good. Break the bead on the other side. And throw it up on the tire machine. Clamp it up. And we'll pull the bead over. Get the other side. There's a little corrosion in there too. So we're just going to take a wire wheel and clean it all up. Get the mud out of there. Corrosion. And our tire should seal. Make sure that it is going to seal. A little mud back there. Now everything's cleaned up. Lube up the tire. And we'll slide our bead back on. In the habit of keeping the valve stem away from the tire. Even though it doesn't have tire sensors, you just kind of get used to it so you don't end up breaking tire sensors. And we'll fill it up. Get our bead to seat. And hopefully this is the last time we have to fill it until we change our tires. We'll find out. I'm not even going to check it. Just going to hope. I'll keep you updated on the success of our tire repair. I'm going to throw it back on the truck. We are going to have to replace that one stud. The lug nut chewed it up pretty bad. So we're just going to put 5 on. Should be good. Put the cap on so we don't lose it. We can unscrew the antenna. And we'll use the wrench to pry this little cover off the corner. So we can get our cowl screen off eventually. But the pizza girl showed up, so we're gonna.
You're doing good. You're doing fine. You get this one when you're done. In the corner.
It's a good thing I got the tires done before the pizza girl showed up, because she would have been flipping them all over the shop. Can't keep those crossfitters away from tires. Functional strength, right, crossfitters? Yeah, right. So we'll put all this stuff in the container. And yes, of course, I didn't get a pizza. Now Scott's GM Truck Emporium had the little trim panel for the bottom of the bumper. So we're going to slide that on there. It's actually off the old bumper we took off the Blues Sierra that we did a while back. I saved it, because you never know when you're going to need it, like now. Just clips in. We use our belt molding installation tool. And it looks much better now. Still a little dent in the bumper, but it'll be fine.
So that's it for today. Next time we come back, we'll get the roof pushed around, maybe lift it around a little bit, get it all squared up, and maybe start cutting on it. Till then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play